In this video, we discuss what happens to a couple's Social Security payment in big age difference marriages. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
Here's a fascinating data point. The U.S. Census Bureau indicates that 8.5% of marriages have a difference in age of 10 years or more. And while the USCB doesn't break this down by first or second marriages, one would assume that this data point is skewed more towards second marriages. In fact, Pew Research has found that second marriages have a larger age difference than first marriages. Now, they don't cite the reason, but the reasons are pretty obvious. The big one is when you are meeting someone for the second time or you're looking for your second spouse, the pool of available candidates is much lower because most of them are already married. So therefore, you have to expand your options. Now, when one is in their 40s and the other is in their 30s, a lot of life's challenges have worked their way out. Income, for example, is more stable, and life has matured the individuals in the second marriages in a way that wasn't available during the first marriage. So for the next 15 or 20 years, people are pretty comfortable on where they sit in this world, and they just get on with their lives. And then they come out on the other end, approaching retirement. And there are certain realities that start to show themselves. The first is that while that point in time where the couple was first married, there wasn't a big difference in things like health, there may be health issues starting to develop, health differences starting to develop. Not always, of course, but sometimes. This is particularly true if the older partner is male, because men have a tendency to live a shorter lifespan anyway, and then you overlay that with the fact that the man is significantly older than the woman. Well, you get the point. The next issue is if both parties are working, because when the older partner is in the frame of mind of retirement, the younger partner might not be ready for a decade or more. Who knows? And then big age difference couples have one other issue, and that's the issue of Social Security. In fact, this whole video is based on conversations we had with the testers of my new course, Social Security Simplified, and several members taking the course had big age difference marriages. And a lot of data came out of those discussions, the debriefs at the end of the course where we asked them what they thought. We made adjustments to the course to make it better, but there was also a lot of data that came out of those discussions that's really valuable. Now, in order to explain what I need to explain next, you need to know one basic fundamental fact about Social Security, and that is if you have a working spouse and a stay-at-home spouse, the spousal benefit for the stay-at-home spouse actually can't begin until the working spouse files for his or her own Social Security. They unlock the spousal benefit by filing for their own Social Security. The other point that's worth noting is that the spousal benefit is based on the primary earner's payment at full retirement age, regardless of when the primary earner actually filed for his or her own Social Security. They can file early, they can file late, but the spousal benefit is based on the amount they would have received if they had filed at full retirement age. The only variable for the spousal benefit is when the spouse files for his or her own spousal benefit. Now, there are 6, 7, 8 different scenarios, maybe even more, that I could construct, which would take a long time on a video like this, with a combination of spouses that work, both work, one works, one is a stay-at-home spouse, one is only a few years older, one is significantly older. But rather than go through each one of those, I'm going to take you to the big polar ends, and then you can work out the middle yourself, depending on where you sit in the spectrum. I'm going to explain this video based on the fact that you have one working spouse and one spouse with a spousal benefit, and there's a 10-year age difference between the two. And I'm going to make the assumption on the first part of the video that the working spouse is older, and on the second part of this explanation that the working spouse is 10 years younger. And by the way, if your household isn't just one working partner and one spouse, don't worry. My previous video was on managing two-income marriages and Social Security, and I'll put a link to that video at the end because you need both of these videos together to understand how to manage that scenario. All right, let's get into it. Now, if you could magically pick a scenario where there's a couple with a 10-year age difference, and one had to be a working spouse and the other had to be a stay-at-home spouse, the ideal scenario in many cases anyway, is to make the older spouse the working spouse, because this solves a lot of problems. Let me explain. Let's say you have partner A who's 44, partner B who's 34, and partner A is the worker in the family, partner B is a stay-at-home spouse. As they travel through life and partner A gets close to retirement, let's say partner A is age 67. They've reached full retirement age and they want to file for Social Security. The spouse is only age 57 and they still have 5 more years before they can even file for their own spousal benefit. Because of this, partner A can file whenever they want from age 62 to age 70, and partner B isn't even eligible to claim the spousal benefit. So there isn't really any scenario where partner B loses the spousal benefit because they have to wait for partner A to file. The unlocking scenario we talked about before. Even if partner A waited until age 70, the maximum age that they can file for their own Social Security benefit, partner B would only be 60 and still be 2 years away from being eligible to file for the spousal benefit. So in this situation, there's no scenario where partner A needs to do something that would trigger the spousal benefit, because in order for the spouse to file, partner A needs to file. Well, partner A has basically from 62 to 70, anytime in there, partner B still can't file for his or her own Social Security because they're not 62 yet. Partner B has their own flexibility. They can file early, they can file late. There's no reason that they have to file right at age 62 unless that's a decision that's best for both of them. But they have the flexibility to make the choice. Now, let's reverse it. Partner A is the stay-at-home spouse and partner B is the big earner. Partner A is still 44 and partner B is still 34. They travel through life and partner A is reaching his or her own retirement age. But partner B, the primary earner, isn't even eligible to collect Social Security yet. As A reaches the minimum age to file for the spousal benefit, B is still 10 years away from even being eligible to file for Social Security. And because the primary earner needs to file his or her own benefit first, A is stuck until partner B files. When partner B reaches age 62, the minimum age to file for Social Security, B is already 72, which means that they're 5 years past the maximum point where their Social Security continues to increase. Now, what happens if B decides that they want to hold out to file for Social Security to get the maximum Social Security payment? Let's say that they want to wait all the way until age 70. Does that mean that A has to wait until age 80 to file for the spousal benefit? Yes, it does. At age 80, partner A is 13 years past the point where they've maximized their own Social Security. It doesn't continue to grow past full retirement age for the spouse. And so you say, Jeff, in that scenario, partner B probably shouldn't wait until age 70 to file for his or her own Social Security because you're leaving 13 years on the table, potentially anyway, at least 8. And you're probably right, except for one point. If you don't look at Social Security as income, but more as insurance, and you're trying to maximize the survivor benefit for partner A. In this scenario, the couple often doesn't need the Social Security payment from the spouse, and so partner B continues to let their Social Security grow because when partner B passes, if partner B passes, partner A assumes the Social Security payment of the spouse, at least as a base, and that's adjusted for the age in which partner A files for the survivor benefit. But at age 80, partner A is long past the age where they've maximized the survivor benefit based on their own age. And by the way, the survivor benefit is pretty complex. I have several videos on the channel here on the survivor benefit, but the base thing to note for this video anyway is that the deceased's Social Security payment is assumed by the survivor, and that base is adjusted either down or not adjusted at all, depending on the age that the survivor files for the survivor benefit. So if the younger partner who has the income in the family is trying to maximize the survivor benefit, well, in that scenario, it might actually make sense. The survivor benefit is one of the most complicated benefits in Social Security, and we cover the survivor benefit in great detail in Social Security Simplified, as well as many other complicated issues. We make them a lot more simple, hence the name, I suppose. And because the course is brand new, we're offering 50% off for early subscribers, but that ends soon. So if you're interested in the course, go to holyschmidt.com/social security to learn more about Social Security Simplified. If you like this video, check out that video on Social Security and two-income marriages. This is Jeff Schmidt, and I will see you in that video right there.